This is influenced from the TEDx Talk, How Unicorns Wind Up in a Straitjacket. Welcome to this episode of the Career Change series, Unicorns Out of a Straitjacket. This is influenced from the TEDx Talk, How Unicorns Wind Up in a Straitjacket, which is to say super talented people who are in the wrong career for them and they feel restricted and confined as you would in a straitjacket. Today with me, I've got Marcia, I think I said it right, Marcia Teperman, and she's gonna tell us about her wonderful career and what she's accomplished so far. She has a very, very moving story and I urge you to pay attention. So without further ado, please help me welcome Marcia. Hiya.
Hi, Linda. Thank you for having me. So I am a business and career development coach and transformational leadership mentor. I recently have nicknamed myself the Turnaround Alchemist, and there is a whole story, but that's a story for another time behind that name. But the short explanation to that is that I help people really alchemize their fears, their limitations, and find the gold within, you know, to really step into the big life, what they want to be, their big life. So that's the short version.
Wow.
And that's me.
The Turnaround Alchemist. I love that name. It's very powerful, actually.
Yes. I had a number of turning points, and my career changes, one of, like, I could say part of the turning points, but I had a few turning points in life. Had a car accident, which I will tell you more about in the context of my career change. So all of those things, I was like, okay, so the turnaround. I have a podcast called the Turnaround Talk Show and Podcast. So for anyone who wants to watch, it talks about how we turn adversity into, an opportunity for growth and expansion. So I have one season that it's everywhere on Anchor, Spotify. You can find it. So check this out, and lots of stories.
Nice. And tell us a bit about your career journey. Where did you start and how did you end up here?
Okay, well, I started out of university. I went out of school. I went to university to study hospitality. Okay. And as I was studying the third year of hospitality and working for a hotel, I realized that if I ever was like at the top of that career, I probably would be one of the people who would be working the most or have always like that so much more responsibility. That might not be true because, but general managers of hotels are pretty busy, and I just didn't see myself fit with all of that. But it was a really valuable time. I worked for a organization that owns a hotel school as well. So a very rich experience.
Okay.
And then I went into fitness. I became a personal trainer. But the way I went to fitness was because at the time when I was studying hospitality, I was a teenager and I had so much drama going on in my life. And when I started to exercise daily and like really push myself, and the resilience and the mental strength that I gained from exercising, it transformed my life, started to kind of really give me access to my strength, because until that point, like all the dysfunction in my family and everything that was going on between homes, between parents' homes and things like that. So I thought, this is a career I want to have. I want to impact people by helping them find well-being and mental strength through fitness and whatnot. So I decided to study physical education. In Brazil, physical education is the path for sports training and the physical education in school. So it's only one path. And 2 days before I started my my degree, I had a car accident that left me on a wheelchair.
Wow.
And so for the first year of university, I actually had to go in to be able to defer. At the time, there was no, reasonable adjustments or anything like that, which universities have now for people who would have an accident to be able to defer without having to go to university. I actually had to go in my wheelchair, on my wheelchair, and I did. And we took, plasters on my legs, and I had several fractures to my face. And so it was like very early on, I went to university because I wanted to defer, even though the doctors told me that I wasn't going to recover from that, wouldn't be able to be an active person. That's what the medical opinion was, that I would struggle to complete my degree. Mm-hmm. And I was like, stuff that, I'm going to finish. So I went back and I graduated, and I was very interested in rehabilitation, as one who had to rehabilitate would be. And so I focused on rehabilitation, cardiac rehabilitation, and musculoskeletal rehabilitation. And I had this focus. Then I left Brazil, because I am from Brazil. Yeah. Left Brazil, moved to Israel, where I worked for the military attaché, and for a little bit, but I also started to work in a cardiac rehabilitation center, did a course in Pilates, and moved to Australia. So came here to Australia, opened my Pilates business, and loved learning everything about business, really loved it. I noticed at some point that I was enjoying more the business part of that than the Pilates side of that. Looking at the I guess the prospect of growing that business, and the landscape here, and the number of people that really did know about Pilates and whatnot, I decided that Pilates wasn't going to be, having a Pilates business wasn't going to be my thing. But I started an online platform that didn't really take off, and reopened the studio with a colleague. And I decided that I was going to prepare for a career change. So this is when I went into like confusion, overwhelm. What is my path? What am I going to do? I'm sure that people who are looking for a career changer will resonate with that.
Yeah.
And I had to find my own breadcrumbs to connect the dots, Right. And I love the personal clues and the connecting the dots, because that was very much my experience. Yeah. As well. And so the personal clues that I had, and I guess.
So I'll summarize. In terms of career change, you went from hotel to rehab to Pilates to what you do now, leadership and career development and more, and being a turnaround alchemist. That is a wonderful, colorful journey and portfolio of careers already. And I love that. And thank you for showcasing that, because a lot of people feel like you get into one career, and because you've worked so hard and you've done all the schooling in there, you're stuck in there. But you're a shining example of just actually going with what life hands you and following almost guidance into what other careers you should be doing next. And that is commendable.
Yes. Before this career that I am now, I had a four-year period where I worked in the disability sector, and I became a subject matter expert in disability and the legislation and the rights of people with disabilities. So working in community with people with disability, supporting a social reform here in Australia, welfare reform. Yeah. And then I went to a university to help with the setting up a disability department from the ground up, pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm really passionate about process improvement and personal improvement. So that's how I ended up, and having had this transition in my career, and I really am passionate about helping people find their purpose and follow their purpose and their enthusiasm and fulfillment, and follow those clues, which is what you kind of came back to, right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
It's exactly what How Unicorns Wind Up in the Straitjacket TED Talk is all about. It was 3 steps in finding the right career for you. The idea being that you tailor the career to you. And the first step was the clues, as you've identified. Do you want to share a bit more about those clues, how that looks for you?
Yeah, so the clues were, I was still very passionate about helping people. So helping people was a big one. And contribution is a big value for me. So I wanted to be able to empower people, as that hasn't changed.
Yes.
But I also was really looking to expand. And I remember as a child, I used to be like how children that play like someone is a teacher and the others are the student.
Okay.
I usually was the teacher, right? So I really had this, I really like to have the stage and to talk and to teach and all of those things. So that was something else. I really wanted to do public speaking. I wanted to be out in community. I always had this really clear calling to be a speaker or an influencer, if you want. And the other clue was it was that I actually was called to write a book about my recovery. So I was feeling into the rehab counseling area and thinking that this might be where I'm going. And it turns out that when someone told me about a role in the disability sector, in this social reform, that was like, had my name all over it. That's how they described it. I was like, oh, that's really interesting. And it had to do with listening to people, helping them articulate their life goals, and help them plan to use funding from the government to meet their, reach their life goals. Yeah. And I thought that was wonderful. And it had to do with families and supporting families. So that was that. And then so these are the clues, and I guess the clues carry through to where I am now.
To connecting the dots, the second stage was connecting the dots. So using all of your love for people and your love for teaching and empowering people and being on stage. What are there some other dots that we've missed?
Oh, well, I guess there's another dot, which is my personal strength in understanding my environment. And I think that's, as a child, my hypervigilance in trying to read people around me to know like where I am, made me really good in understanding systems and having like connecting things. So that's why one of my strengths is also to help people, like a systemic consciousness, I guess I call that. So I understand where limitations come from sometimes in terms of their history and family, and also in process design and improvement. I am very good at that. So that was another area where I had some clues as well.
That's a beautiful dot.
Yeah, it's very personal, right? Because this has to do with my journey of being a child in a dysfunctional family, but that became my gift, really.
Absolutely. Turning your mess into a message. I love it. And finally, how do you use this in your career? I think we've alluded to it, but if you can summarize it up in the third stage of applying these clues and your natural genius to the dots that we've identified.
So to me, it is helping people understand where their conditioning is preventing them from stepping into their authentic career path, or being their courageous identity, so where they can upgrade their life and actually update their identity. Because a lot of the time, we kind of leave our parents' homes and go to the world, and then we carry everyone's beliefs, and not just our parents, our teachers, our our culture, our communities, and then we now become, grown-up people who shift and evolve and learn, and then we kind of like, just kind of start to take all those backpacks, this heavy conditioning that we carry, and I think that's where how I apply this. I apply all this understanding to help people really evolve into their new identity and choose a career path that's most aligned to them, to really connect to their purpose, at a soul level even.
I love that. You remind me of a very colleague in this personal professional development field that I respect so much, Regan Hillier, and she talks about, aligning your career and your soul to what you do, but also taking off that heavy weight that you've carried on through life, recognizing that some of these are not yours and they're learned, and you need to decondition yourself, only use empowering beliefs. It's super powerful.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Give ourselves permissions to be who we want to be. That's so huge, so huge. I'm going to share something because I think it's really important, because I worked in a university with international students, right? And the number of students who are actually not studying what they really wanted to study, in particularly students coming from Asia, from countries like India and China, and and that's a huge thing, because you want to be given permission to follow your heart's desire and your authentic path, and not to have to do what your parents approve. But yet so many of us actually still go, start our career journey with a little bit of that, how do I belong? How do I get approval? How do I feel safe? And it's not for anything other than because you want to stay connected to the people you love. But it comes to a time in your life when you have to make your own decisions about what is right for you.
I'm so happy you shared that. I very, very rarely come across someone else who's had the same experience. I used to work at a university helping college grads work, and I was in the placement office, the internships office, and a lot of them, because they're not studying what they wanted to do, they would come to me and sort of like share this, I really wanted to be a vet, but my parents would only sponsor me to come here if I did a business degree or whatever it is. And that's where I came up with this creating your own career, where it's like, okay, well, you've got this business degree, you've got your interest in animals, how can we merge that so that at least you're doing a little bit of what you love? And I feel so sad that nobody was addressing this. And I haven't heard anyone, this has been years since I started doing this, and I've never had anyone address this until you just said that, and it just gave me the chills.
And there's something else I want to share, that this was because I was a disability liaison officer. This was creating a lot of anxiety in people. And so I actually want people who are, feeling anxiety and actually starting to feel overwhelmed as well, and overthinking about career change, and, going from one change to the next and thinking about 1,000 things, that's starting to really kind of take a toll. So when you start to feel this way, you really need to start prioritize yourself, your fulfillment, because that's when you know that your body is asking for your attention.
And you're in alignment, for sure. Wow. We could go on forever. I absolutely love it. Just to round up the interview, what's the one piece of advice you would say to someone who's perhaps considering a career change or on a similar journey to you and really resonates with what you've said?
Yeah, my piece of advice is for you to start from your desires. So I wanted to really think about the things that excite you the most, the things that you think that you kind of even have considered out of reach for you. and you go like, no, I couldn't possibly do that. And, you know, put them all down on a piece of paper, look at them and go, why not? And then, you know, do like the reverse engineering from that and really feel into that. Feel what kind of job you would be doing those things. What, you know, because sometimes, yeah, you think about things in a very rational way, but I wanted to go out of the box, not think in a linear way, not think about industries, think about you, what you want. And then when you're looking at jobs, I wanted to have a read through job descriptions and really tuning to the feeling in your body. Is it a hell yes, or is it a no way?
Absolutely not.
Because your body's going to tell you if this is a hell yes, or like, you know, when you're reading like the third line and you just go like, no, this is not for me. So don't ignore that. Don't push through those jobs where you go like, no, this is not for me. Just keep looking for the one that lights you up and follow your enthusiasm. That's my tip.
Well, Marcia, I want to say thank you so much for this. There's literally nothing I can add to it. And I'm so glad to find someone that super resonates and echoes exactly what I feel about career change and how to move in to find the best career for you. So thank you so much for your time, for sharing with us. Honestly, guys, check her out. Her details are coming up shortly. If you want to work with her, follow what she's doing. And she was talking about she's coming up with a new launch. She's the turnaround alchemist. Turnaround in any aspect of your life. Definitely check what she's doing out on the links below. Thank you so much, Marcia, for being here.
You are so welcome. Don't be a unicorn in a straitjacket, okay?
Absolutely. Don't be a unicorn in a straitjacket. Thank you, hon.
Thank you.